We all tend to think that these harnesses cannot possibly fail. That's just not true. We are responsible, as a stunt coordinator, we are responsible for the harness that you're handing me. If there's any kind of problems on set, I'm the one that's going to be responsible for that harness. So I don't want you guys bringing me harnesses that aren't any good. Your harness needs to be inspected every time you bring it out of the bag. If it's starting to show some damage, that means a few different problems. It means that we're abusing it, we're abusing other equipment as we're working, and we're abusing the person that's inside of the harness. I think that the person who can tell you how to look after your harness, how to inspect your harness, and how to keep it, how to maintain it, how to keep it clean, how to take care of chemical problems, is the manufacturer. Ultimately, he's the one that has to give his blessing to this harness for us to be able to use it. You should always follow the manufacturer's specifications on it, in terms of shelf life, in terms of how to clean it and store it.
Feeling the material, and that's one way I can quickly tell the use and age of a harness. As it ages, especially from UV exposure, it will have the texture of the material will change quickly. You can also look at the fading of the material, to see if there's been exposure to the elements UV.
Quite often you might notice that there's a shackle might have burrs on it or might be rough, and when those shackles are being put on your harness, they can cause damage underneath your pick points. So doing a visual observation from on top of a harness may not be enough to actually realize there might be damage in places you can't see.
It's very critical that you look at your harness and look for any malformations on it. That's your biggest indicator of having problems, to me.
If you see thread coming apart at any pick point, it needs to be inspected by a manufacturer. And if you see a bar tack, which is the special type of stitch here, if you see it coming apart and starting to loosen, that's a good sign that that needs to be inspected as well. So if you have a Spectra sew-on harness, looking for stitching that is showing signs of loosening at the pick points is vital for sure.
Actsafe has created a stunt harness logbook, and the reason for making this is so that each and every person that has a harness can track the history of that harness. It can track the uses and the abuses, how many times a pick point has been used, whether there's been any unusual exposure to environmental conditions, chemicals, ultraviolet, anything that could potentially compromise your harness. I would use one logbook for each harness I have. Myself personally, I have 5 different harnesses for different situations, and each harness would have its own logbook. It would have my name on it. It would have like the ID or type of harness that it is on the logbook, and I'd probably even write the manufacturer's contact information myself on the inside of the book, just to make sure that if I need to get a hold of them quickly, I can call them from set. If I fill my logbook, which is possible, I'd pick up another one. But I'd still keep the older logbook with that harness bag. I wouldn't just replace it with a new one. I would make sure that history is always in the bag, is always together. We can get logbooks through Actsafe. The good news for all of you is as much money as you spend on your harness, you don't have to pay a dime for a logbook. They are free.